Story 1. Professional athletes embody the unpredictability of human competition. It is remarkable to see what the right group of people can achieve when they catch lightning in a bottle. Story 2. This thread is full of people who watched one Boston Dynamics video and now greatly overestimate our robotic capabilities. Story 3. Honest answer. Lawyers. Artificial intelligence will be able to do the work and will do most of it, but the work will still need to be approved by a human. The reason is that lawyers write the rules that govern what requires lawyers, and they will not write themselves out of existence. Also, if you think the government will intervene against this self-serving structure, consider that the lawmakers who wrote the laws are lawyers. Story 4. Humans tend to find things to do when we get bored. I imagine that even if artificial intelligence takes most of the jobs we do today, we will just figure out other things to do. Frankly, much of the talk about replacing workers with artificial intelligence comes from privileged technology professionals looking to impress shareholders. However, I suspect that in the long term, those in power will realize they do not actually want the working class to have spare time. Story 5. Daycare and kindergarten workers. Parents are not going to agree to leave a dozen toddlers in a room with a robot, and if they did, that robot would be damaged in less than a day. Story 6. Comedy and prostitution. Artificial intelligence is unable to be funny. It does not understand humor. I do not know why. Prostitution is obvious, I think. Story 7. Being the person responsible for something. Catholic priest, military and police officer, politician, funeral director, probably. Story 8. Engineering. 15 years in the field, I have yet to see a project that is actually remotely like that one, let alone the mythical standard issue. We may have the code and we may have individual tools to automate certain tasks, but artificial intelligence will never catch up on the never-ending list of things that someone assumed and someone else did not question, and that absolutely must be resolved immediately. Story 9. Nursing home attendants. Elderly people will still need someone to assist with hygiene, provide meals, and maintain cleanliness. Story 10. I hope we reach a point where no one has to work. Everything is done by machines, and we can do whatever we want all day long. Story 11. People commenting that it will be difficult for artificial intelligence to recognize a problem or feel a particular emotion do not understand what artificial intelligence actually is. Artificial intelligence is not just the chat generative pre-trained transformer you use. There are already artificial intelligence models that understand emotions. Recognizing patterns, problems, and gaps was one of the first tasks artificial intelligence models performed. That is what they started with. It is like saying Usain Bolt probably cannot walk because I have only seen him run. Story 12. As a physiotherapist who performs a lot of manual therapy, I do not believe artificial intelligence will replace my job. Instead, it will enhance it by streamlining diagnoses and treatment plans. Story 13. Athletes. We are not going to watch a bunch of robots playing on the field or court. That is cringeworthy and creepy. Imagine they have a physical altercation and the next second, they commit suicide by exploding. Story 14. Housekeeping, nannying, cooking, and other regular upkeep such as haircutting and gardening are essential tasks. Manual labor will likely always be necessary, regardless of advancements in robotics, because wealthy individuals derive satisfaction from having others perform these tasks. Story 15. There are many jobs that artificial intelligence would never be able to take over, such as skilled bakers, police officers, and paramedics. These are social and high-energy roles. Artificial intelligence can only take over tasks that depend on the internet and a stable connection. If the power is cut, the connection is lost, or the code is disabled, artificial intelligence ceases to function. Story 16. Most professions will still exist. There will be half as many people working in them who know how to use artificial intelligence to be twice as productive. Story 17. Unless you are a plumber or electrician, you are basically out of luck in 20 years. The real question is how fast we can evolve as a society to utilize universal basic income in a healthy manner. Story 18. Machine shop and manufacturing mechanics. I am a computer numerical control service technician. No artificial intelligence will ever be able to fix computer numerical control machines. Story 19. It depends on whether the machines have taken over yet or not. If not, then dog walkers will probably still be around. Babysitters. Anything that requires actual human touch and observation. Story 20. Music, art, fine dining, sports. Anything that needs a human touch will still exist. Everything else will be gone. Story 21. Literally none. If artificial intelligence ever reaches human average intelligence, all jobs are up for grabs. It does not even matter if they are bad at it. If they are good enough and comparatively free, they get the job. Story 22. Any construction job. No artificial intelligence system is going to be able to navigate a normal job site. It is not clean, not stable, and there are just way too many variables that make them unusable. It is like when I see that video of a house being three-dimensionally printed and people say it is the future. Yes, good luck getting that machine anywhere near a normal job site for it to actually start its purpose. Story 23. Sadly, politicians, police officers, and soldiers are involved in decision-making and enforcement of rules. If these responsibilities are removed from humans, humanity may be close to extinction anyway. Story 24. Oligarch. People worship the wealthy. Always have, always will. Even if artificial intelligence could do a far better job at running Tesla than Elon Musk, it will still never happen. People like Musk and Steve Jobs do not invent or really do anything themselves. They simply tell others to do it. The only difference is oligarchs will tell artificial intelligence versus a human what to do. They will always want and have power. Story 25. All jobs will still exist. It is just that artificial intelligence will be doing them. You can still be a self-employed stock trader. It is a pointless middleman job that does not need to exist in the first place. Story 26. Corporate treasury. No company trusts a hallucinating large language model to move millions of dollars. Story 27. A plumber will diagnose a leaking faucet, track a leak under a slab, unblock a toilet by removing a toy that a child threw down, install a hot water system, and connect it to 100-year-old piping. The list goes on. Story 28. Freight haulers. Artificial intelligence can do the driving and park the truck, but it can never count the freight or sign for it. Artificial intelligence cannot balance the load or ensure it is properly secured. It cannot inspect the truck or verify that all repairs are done correctly. Most importantly, when something goes wrong, law enforcement officers will want someone to detain. How do you detain artificial intelligence? The first time officers have to detain artificial intelligence, someone will face serious consequences. There is much more to freight hauling than just keeping the vehicle between the lines. Story 29. Robots are more expensive than artificial intelligence itself, so most trades should be safe for 100 years. Robots will always need fixing. It would be quite difficult to build robots that repair other robots unless they all encounter the same problem or require routine maintenance. Anything where a life could be lost is a concern. This is basically the reason full self-driving technology is not everywhere yet. The designers of artificial intelligence cannot afford to go through the corrupt American court system if someone dies. Someone must approve the AI doctor, bridge builder, and similar applications. Story 30. My son-in-law is an octopus fisherman. It seems pretty safe from artificial intelligence. In fact, it seems pretty safe from most other humans. Story 31. Tanning leather. A few years ago, someone found that the United States Congress still appropriates $100,000 a year to train tanners in the budget. This program started in the early 1800s. Story 32. 100 years from now, humans will be close to extinct. Not quite, but the numbers will be much lower than they are today. We do not have much oil left in the world. We have been trying to solve that problem, but it keeps getting postponed. The world runs on oil. It is in everything. Hopefully, artificial intelligence figures it out or we are in trouble. 20 years from now, we are in for a big surprise. Story 33. Event production, concerts, conventions, and similar events. Some artificial intelligence will infiltrate the industry, but artificial intelligence cannot hang 2 tons of speakers in an arena or set up an LED wall. No client will want to rely on an artificial intelligence robot to fix something that is time-sensitive. Story 34. Bartenders, robots will not be able to mix drinks, listen to customers' personal problems, and provide genuine human advice. Story 35. Resistance fighter, if you assume the worst as in Terminator or The Matrix. If you are into Isaac Asimov, I guess the correct answer would be robot psychologist. Story 36. You will always need manufacturing engineering because there will always be process variability in anything made, particularly with stricter mechanical, electrical, and optical requirements. Story 37. An anesthesiologist requires extensive flexibility, fine motor skills, and much more to manage a wide range of individuals in various situations for different operations. Creating a physical machine that is similarly adaptable is not feasible. Story 38. Artificial intelligence, as it is, does not know anything or perform well. It is also a failing business model that loses billions of dollars each quarter. This is a bubble that is bound to collapse, so most jobs are probably safe. Story 39. This is extremely situational. Basically, all jobs can and cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence depending on how much we adapt the rest of society around it. Just as an example, garbage collection is easy to automate if we streamline everything to look the same, work similarly, and make sure it is 100% foolproof. However, as long as there is a reasonably high number of random factors involved, the artificial intelligence would need human-level intelligence. Story 40. Hundreds of years is such a long time that it is difficult to say. Most of these answers, in my opinion, assume society stays the same and do not consider that technology often changes society significantly. My cautious answer is that no one can say for sure. If you consider robotics and artificial intelligence together, it is hard to predict. Story 41. Chilling. Everything else will be done better through automation. Everyone saying prostitution is crazy is ignorant, as if that is not one of the most commonly depicted roles taken by robots in science fiction. Story 42. Nurses. People are not going to want to be cared for by robots. There is something about human touch, real empathy, and compassion that a robot will never be able to mimic. Hopefully, we will get a robot that can assist in moving people, which could help reduce back pain. Story 43. Sailors and other seafarers. Filipinos are less expensive than robots. If their wages increase, hiring from a less expensive country is always an option. Story 44. I was going to say prostitute, but a sufficiently advanced female robot will do. Ultimately, people who commune with the divine. Shaman, priest, sorcerer classes. Machines do not have souls. Story 45. Field medic or welder, people will always need broken things fixed, whether it be man or machine, and being able to deliver the repair will never go away. Story 46. Anything that requires personal and professional responsibility and authorization. Take the legal system. 99% of documents require some kind of stamp and signature where an actual person vouches for the receiving, processing, and mailing of something. Accountability exists to determine who signed something and what they were thinking when they did. Story 47. Live music and performance. While I believe artificial intelligence will take over most of the arts, it will never be able to put on a concert or a play. Story 48. There are people who can learn independently well enough that they do not need a teacher, but most people need direct interaction with a specialist in the subject area to learn things they do not find easy. I am a teacher myself. I struggle with internal motivation when learning something I do not find easy, such as mathematics or chemistry, and I need a person to explain things in different ways, to empathize with me, and to hold me accountable. Online classes were very difficult for me, and I barely passed any of the online courses I have taken. When I teach language arts, I find I need to sit down with different groups of students in a class and diagnose the problems they are having with an assignment or lesson. Then, I have to approach the outcome from a completely different angle than with another group of students. Sometimes I have to reteach skills they should have learned in a previous grade, and sometimes I have to increase the difficulty to help a group of advanced students stay engaged. I do not know that artificial intelligence would be able to do that effectively. Story 49. Given 100 years, There is not a single job that would look the same. 100 years ago, there was electricity and cars, but no internet or television. Can you even imagine that? 100 or 200 years before that, making candles was one of the main things you did all day if you did not want to be in pitch darkness when the sun went down. Can you imagine that? The candles did not burn clean. They were dim, smoky, and smelled awful. Wealthy people could afford candles that smelled vaguely like cooking meat, and that was about as good as you could do for a long time. Scented candles were originally made because unscented candles smelled awful and were your only source of light, not because people liked the smell. Following this pattern, things we currently do to compensate for some physical drawback will become an aesthetic staple for some people. However, any specific attempt to predict a movement like this is totally up to chance. Story 50. Most civil construction excludes foundation concrete printers, water and sewer systems, and other infrastructure located underground and in active roadways. Story 51. Artists. People will always value handcrafted things, even if robots can do them better. There is something inspiring in knowing that something was created by a human. That being said, only the wealthy will be able to afford handmade art. Story 52. Nursing and doctors, honestly. Artificial intelligence and robotics will be tools utilized more and more, but they will not replace these professions. They will merge with them just like computers did. Story 53. Auto mechanics. With the increase in electrification and autonomous driving technology, cars have fewer typical or pattern failures and more unique issues that require extensive diagnosis. The demand is high for people with electrical troubleshooting skills. Story 54. Hairstylists. There is no way I am trusting some strange artificial intelligence robot near my head with scissors. Story 55. 100 years is a long time. 100 years ago, I am pretty sure they had donkeys pulling produce carts in Manhattan. 100 years ago is like 30 years before some areas of the country got electricity. I have no clue what the world will look like in 100 years. Story 56. Government employees, because when was the last time a government department was quick to adopt new technologies? We are still working on phasing out faxes and checks. Story 57. That is hard to say when you have data running all over the place. And gasp, did you see Data's daughter? I believe people may simply end up as artificial intelligence pets, or there may be human wildlife preserves set up on various planets as artificial intelligence spreads across the universe. We very well could end up where planets are for people and artificial intelligence takes everything else in the universe. Story 58. High-level executives will never fire themselves. They will let artificial intelligence do all the heavy lifting, then take the credit and the paycheck. Story 59. Moving company workers. I am not sure what that profession is called. It might be mover, but it sounds odd, and I do not think that is correct. Oh, the problems you encounter when you are not a native English speaker. Story 60. Any physical task that is not repetitive. A plumber needs to replace a toilet in a small bathroom or cut a wall. Story 61. Correctional officer. If a prison does not have human staff, inmates will eventually find ways to exploit the robots. Story 62. Considering that existence occurs by impulses in the brain, I would venture to say that all of these answers are wrong. Story 63. I am a sailing instructor and charter captain. As long as people have some disposable income and an interest in the ocean, my job will be relatively artificial intelligence proof. Story 64. I have scrolled far enough. Postman. There is no superintelligence that can do that. Has anyone played Death Stranding? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.